The next step of our house wash is the pre-inspection walk around, and for this we're going to be using the 28-point inspection form within QuoteIQ, which allows us to take pictures and document all pre-existing damage at the property. We can then send those to the customer in the form of a PDF before the work is done, so that way we can't be held liable for any of those pre-existing damages. And if you'd like to use these inspection forms, check out QuoteIQ. It'll be the second link in the comment section and description, and you can actually save 50% off your subscription right now through myquoteiq.com.
These outlets that have these types of covers, they have a gasket in them most of the time, like that. So they usually seal pretty good. It's good to just walk around and check them either way, just to make sure. We have had in the past where we had a cover that was upside down. So the drain hole was at the top and the water drained down into the outlet and caught the outlet on fire, left a big burn spot on the customer's home. But in that case, that's not our problem because they had a cover on the outlet and we're covered because the outlet's covered. So it should be taken care of. If the outlet's not covered, then we're responsible for taping it. And if something happens, then it's on us.
So what else, Jacob? What else are we looking for on the property?
So this door, probably take precaution, hit it with some water before we hit it with chemical, because we don't know if this is sealed or not. Sometimes you can't really tell by just looking at it. So we'll spray some water on it while we're hitting it with chemical, just to be sure that we don't, lighten that up to the same color as the vinyl for the customer, and it stays that same dark color. We'll still hit it with chemical, but you can hit it with water beforehand. If you got water on it first, it's not going to stick and adhere to the door like it would if it was dry.
Also, good opportunity for you guys as you kind of walk the property when you first get here, so go ahead and take some good before and after pictures. As you guys can see, this is pretty dirty property. It's vinyl siding. Jacob mentioned earlier that it's going to be a pretty quick cleanup. However, it's an awesome time to get these before pictures because you can use them for your marketing. You can send them to the customer after, right, Jacob?
That's right. So moving on, the panels on the home, we try to stay away from them as much as we can. I mean, we don't spray them directly, obviously. We'll spray around them and just check for anything that may be open. Check for holes on the top of these boxes. We have had a job in the past where they drilled a hole in the top of this panel and they forgot to put a bulkhead with a plug in it. So it was just an open hole in the box. Not sure how they didn't run into issues before we came and washed it due to rain and different things like that. Check stuff like that. Check all the cables. Just kind of do a quick look over. Make sure you don't have any wires that are open or anything like that. Something that doesn't look like it should be getting wet. Because if it looks like it shouldn't be getting wet, it's probably not supposed to get wet. We check all the windows, make sure there's no cracks or holes in the windows to where water's getting in. There's nobody home right now, so we're gonna try to be careful of that, especially at the front doors, because the gaskets at the bottom, whenever they get wore out, if the door is flush to the ground, then water will run under them and all in the home, and nobody's here to clean it up. So
another thing to keep in mind is any holes in the vinyl siding. As you guys can see here, we have some detachment from this piece to this piece. You obviously don't want to get water back behind that, but you also want to take a picture of things like this so that way you can notify the homeowner that this was the shape the property was in, before you serviced it, so that way you're not held liable in the event that they're like, you messed up our siding whenever you came and washed our house, because obviously that's not the case, right, Jacob?
that's right. So this is kind of one of the outlets I was talking about, like that's not completely covered. We would typically still be covered under this if something were to happen because the cover is on it. We wouldn't be involved in that. That would be on the homeowner due to them having a cover installed on it. But we're gonna go ahead and put some tape anyway, just because we don't want to burn anybody's house down.
That would not be a good idea.
No, then wouldn't make for a bad day.
Another thing to keep in mind is any paint that's removed from the house. So like this, obviously, this is why we don't apply a bunch of pressure to the property, because in which case we'll remove more of this paint. So just another thing that we're gonna take a picture of, make a note on, so that way we're not held liable for missing paint on that trim.
So whenever, like Justin was saying, whenever it comes to checking the vinyl and stuff, like on that corner that he just showed, where the vinyl actually goes together, so like right here, normally you're good spraying, because you're not just going to hold the ball valve on that spot, but behind there is just the insulation and like stuff that's not supposed to get wet that could mold over time. So we like to walk around, do an inspection of all the vinyl siding. That way if this is pulled back, we know not to spray this way. We'll spray the opposite way of the overlaid part of it to where the water is going away from it and it's not coming into it, just to keep any mold from happening in the future, any water getting in there and damaging anything, rotting anything out.
Obviously, another good thing to do before the start of the job is to go ahead and remove any property that the customer might have in the way that could be damaged by bleach. As you guys can see, Buddy's already removed that. As well as every time before we come to a property, we always make sure that the homeowner knows that they need to have all of their belongings moved from the front and back patios before we arrive, so that way we can kind of mitigate some time on our end having to move everything. So this might be what, like a light was there, Jacob, or something?
Yeah, maybe a light
Or a doorbell or something?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. Tesla plug.
But anytime there's exposed wires, we obviously want to cover them.
Yeah, obviously we'll put a piece of tape over that, just a small one, and then wherever the tape's at the end of the job, we'll come back whenever we pull the tape off. We'll just have a rag with us and just kind of wipe the dirt that was left under the tape. That way it all matches and it looks like we were actually able to clean all the way around it.
Right. So one of the big thing you guys need to be looking out for on these properties is like fans and things like that. So Jacob, what's the precaution that you guys take whenever you come across like a fan or something?
So normally people install outdoor fans, so you really won't have an issue. You can just ask the customer before you get to the job or once you make it to the job if those are outdoor fans. If they are, you don't want to spray directly on the fan. You can wipe the fan blades if you need to or if the customer requests it, but we just kind of spray around them. It's okay if a little bit of water hits them. We've never had any issues with any type of fans or anything like that. Light fixtures, just make the customer aware to leave them off for a little bit until everything kind of dries. That way if any water did seep in there at the top of it, it's all dried up and they won't have any issues whenever they flip the switch and turn it on, in case there's any exposed wires or anything like that.
So is there anything else, Jacob, that we kind of want to take into consideration with our property inspection before we go ahead and, start getting everything ready to go?
This one's pretty simple to do. Walk around. There's not really much to look at other than really the vinyl, windows, outlets, the typical things that we would look at on every single job. Stuff like this, like Justin was saying earlier, anything that's got missing paint or chipping paint, or if the back side of the house or wherever the south side of the house is has a lot of oxidation on it, you want to take a picture of that beforehand. That way you're able to show the customer if they say something about it, or if you want to show them ahead of time, you can put that in your pre-inspection form to send to the customer. That way it covers you, and once you finish the job, the customer isn't asking you why their siding is no longer brown or tan, now it's white. So you can say, this was previously here before we got started. It was in the pre-inspection form and you're covered.
Last thing to always be on the lookout for is the Ring doorbells, as well as any cameras around the property, because, a lot of times people have those, and if you mess those up, people don't usually like it.
Yeah, so the ones with the cameras on the front of them, like not this one's just a regular doorbell obviously, but the ones that have the cameras on the front of them that you're able to talk to and do all that special stuff through, normally we'll put a piece of tape over the camera. That way no chemical is sitting on the camera part of it, but those are also weatherproof a lot of times. So that's another thing, just ask the customer, make sure that it is an all-weather doorbell. Cover the camera so you're not leaving bleach spots on it, and pull the tape off whenever you head out.